Welcome to the first day of the Riley Sewalong. The Riley is definitely our most involved pattern to date, so we have broken it down step by step into multiple days of sew-along information to make it as easy as possible. Honestly, the pattern itself is not particularly hard. It has a super forgiving fit, which makes it overall a pretty simple sew, but there are a lot of steps. I know that can feel overwhelming, so we are going to help you through the way. Let's get going. Being a more intermediate to advanced pattern, we are not going to be going step by step through downloading, printing, and assembling our pattern, but just know that by now you should have done those things. If you need a little bit more help with that, you can check out our Jessie Sew-Along, which is a true beginner pattern, and it really does go into depth on all of those things. What we are going to be going over today is once your fabric is all cut out, we are going to be going over markings for your pattern. And then lastly, we will do a few practice stitches just to kind of prepare for tomorrow. This is especially important if you are using top stitching thread, which I will be doing, and so you want to practice that out and make sure you're ready. The first marking that we're going to pay attention to is the notch. I just do my notches with a simple little clip with my scissors at about a 1/4 inch long each. Next, let's talk about dot markings. There are multiple dot markings throughout the pattern. I find that the easiest way to mark these is by using a pin to puncture through the pattern paper and into the fabric. Then I use a temporary marking tool. My favorite is a washable Crayola marker in a similar color to the fabric. And I use that marker to place a marking close to the pin. Try to keep in mind if the marking should be on the right or the wrong side of the fabric when you're marking it. For instance, all pocket markings would be on the right side of the fabric, while stitching markings like dart ends and this front crotch curve dot should be marked on the wrong side of the fabric. There are a few buttonholes to mark on the fabric as well. These should be marked on the right side of the fabric, and the way that I've chosen to do this is I put pins on either end of the buttonhole, and then I use my temporary marking tool, which is my Crayola marker, and I use that to make 2 little dots at both pins. And then I use my temporary marking tool again, as well as a ruler to connect those dots. The last marking that I want to talk about today is darts. So you're going to want to mark the back darts on the wrong side of the fabric. I start by taking a pin and puncturing it through the paper pattern and into the fabric at that bottom dot of the dart. And then I use my temporary marking tool once again to mark that dot on the wrong side of the fabric. Next, I take my fabric scissors and I make just a small little clip, just like you do for a notch, at both of the dart ends along the top edge of your pant. And then lastly, you're going to take your ruler and your temporary marking tool and you're gonna connect that dot to that little clip that you made to go ahead and mark the 2 legs of your dart. The last thing that we want to do today is we want to practice some stitching. So you're going to want a scrap piece of fabric that is folded in half so it's 2 layers thick, my all-purpose regular thread that matches the fabric, and then I am also using the Mara 70 top stitching thread in white, but that is optional. First thing, make sure that you have switched over to your jeans or heavy-duty sewing machine needle. And then I'm making a row of stitching in my normal construction matching blue thread. It's all-purpose thread, and I'm doing it at a normal 2.5 millimeter length just to make sure that it looks good and that I'm happy with it. And then now, seeing that I'm happy with that, I am switching out my top thread to my Mara 70 top stitching thread, which I am doing in white so that it's super contrasting and that will be very visible during this sew along. I usually find that top stitching looks better if the length is a little bit longer, so I'm going to up the stitch length from 2.5 millimeters up to around 3 and try that out and see how I like it. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to fold the end over so that it's now 4 thick and that I have a folded edge to work on. And I'm going to do a double row of top stitching, which we will be doing a lot during the construction of the Riley. The first row of top stitching will be just along that edge at about a 1/16 of an inch in from the fold. And then the second row of top stitching is going to be a 1/4 of an inch inside of that first row of top stitching, or a scant kind of 3/8 of an inch from the folded edge. You might need to practice these stitches a few times before you get them right, but once you are happy with them, you are done for today, and we'll come back tomorrow and we will start sewing our Riley overalls.